So hello everybody, this is Nekome and today I wanted to do my reaction to this video because I really enjoy these um, cut scrapped content videos and from InColdBlood. Thank you so much. I'm a huge fan of your work, so I really wanted to live react to this video because when I saw the title, I was like, oh my god, I'm so excited to know more about season 2. Like, I love your videos, and I really wanted to live reaction to this. So, let's see.
A few years ago, I uploaded a series of Walking Dead Season 2 cut content videos. I showed nearly everything that there was still left over in the game. But despite little pieces here and there just wasn't a clear explanation for what exactly Season 2's original story.
That was so funny. Look with Nick's hat. Oh god. That looks so dorky.
Was. I speculated a bit on what I thought the original story was going to be.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Check his videos out, they are amazing.
And that I sort of hinted at the idea that Season 2 was supposed to be a much darker story than it.
Yeah, it looked like that from the photos that we saw, from the title photos. Like Lem having blood in her face, kind of like this.
Ended up being. Since then, I've come to understand a lot more about the development of Season 2. Around the time I learned this, I thought about making a video on it, but it was suggested that I don't, for the simple reason of it being secret, and not something I was supposed to know. And I sort of...
Oh my god!
But I think enough time has passed, and I believe this information is just too interesting to be lost.
Oh, damn, I'm so excited! Yes, I can verify to a certain extent that what I was told was true. This wasn't just some guy who sent me his or her random fanfiction and told me it was 100% true. Oh my god, thank you so much, I'm so excited to know more about this.
So long as I don't mention who or how,
Okay.
I don't think it's too big of a deal for me to talk about. That also means I can't provide evidence for obvious reasons. So really, it's up to you whether or not you want to believe me. I think my track record on this channel speaks for
And
itself.
I know his
I'm not
channels.
the type of person
I know his channel so well, so I don't think he's that kind of guy that would like make something up. I don't think so.
the day, it's up to you to believe what you want.
I believe you.
In writing the script for this video, it also made me realise that I should clear up what I mean by the original story. Before leaving, they left behind a set of notes of how they were generally going to have Season 2
Oh
play
my.
out. While we don't know exactly what they left behind, what is known is that they did a considerable amount of work on the first episode of Season 2 before they left to be mentioned. Instead, what I'll call it is the Brunner script. I call it the Brunner script because, from the story I was told, once the original team who wrote the first script left Telltale, the Telltale management reportedly discarded the ideas of the first script and attempted to write their own version of Season 2, thinking they could do better without the need of the original team. They thought that they could do better, and the reason Season 1 was as big as it was had nothing to do with the talent of Vanneman, Rodkin, and the other Telltale members who worked on Season 1. But instead, that it was actually Telltale the company that made it the success it was.
Damn.
Anyway, from what I was told, the Brunner script was apparently so terrible that they decided to just go back to script 1. It's not entirely known what this script was or what made it so bad, just that it was awful enough for them to go back to the original ideas. And that's all I know about the Brunner script.
That would be interesting to know how bad it was.
The original story of Season 2 was about two key characters. Of course, one of them is Clementine.
Who is the
The
second?
story
Kenny?
consisted
Question
of
mark?
her. The other character who the story was supposed to centre around was Krista. It was about
Oh god, they should have kept her around. I really think they should have kept her around. That was a huge mistake. So many fans were asking about her. She wasn't my favorite, but I would have wanted to see more of her.
and unlike in the final version of the game, Krista was one of the characters who would make it to the finale.
So, is this in the right? Is it Krista and is on the left is Clementine? I One of the things that I want to criticize about Walking Dead is that they really like killing off the characters because if you have a colorful cast, you should keep people around. You should not just leave Clem alive. Because if Clementine had some company, but AJ was a baby and AJ grew. He was a character in episode season 4. Clementine, it would have been better if Clementine actually had some company. Kenny and Shane were kind of like killed off, and I would have wanted some people to hang around with her, like I don't know, being like a group, kind of like from season 1 to season 4, like with Rick. Rick always had his own group, so I really wanted something like that with Clementine, but that didn't really happen. But in the end, kind of like, but yeah.
The story would begin immediately with a campfire scene, just like it is in episode 1. Just a hard cut right to it, no flashback. I mentioned it in a previous video, but the Omid flashback was indeed supposed to happen in the second episode. Originally, the first scene of episode 2 would begin with Clementine reliving the horror of what happened to Lee, before Lee would appear in front of Clementine. She'd be hiding in the red car you see in the epilogue of the first game. Her dream would break away after Omid taps on the glass, and from there we would see a bit more of Omid, Krista and Clem as they were before Omid is killed.
I would have liked that way better. That would have been very cool, because then we could have been reminded of Lee.
It's not exactly clear.
But we just get Lee in kind of like she just talks about Lee, but that would have been so much like my heart would have liked that if there was some kind of hallucination or something.
If the circumstances of Omid's death were exactly the same, all I know is that he got shot. By now, it would probably not shock you to find out that the very first script and the very first episode in the final game of Season 2 were almost entirely the same. Obviously it's not 100% accurate because there's been many changes made to episode 1, as you saw in my previous videos.
Yeah.
But the big story beats are all the same. Omid is dead, Krista loses her baby and gets separated from Clementine, Clementine gets bit by a dog, gets locked up in a shed, and so on and so on. You can tell this just based on the quality of the writing and even the gameplay, at least up until the campsite scene, that this was obviously written by people who understood Clementine as a character, something that, as the season went on, started to fade away. Clementine would have ended up at a zoo, and that a tiger was involved. There was also mention of a nuclear reactor or power plant or something at some point, but I've got absolutely zero clue about any of that. Kenny was always intended to return.
Oh.
From what I was told, Kenny was still supposed to join your group, along with someone described as a new girlfriend. So it seems like Sarita, in some form, existed in this first script. This was later confirmed in an AMA with Gavin Hammond, who claimed that Sarita was always part of the plan. That might explain why she doesn't really have all that much to do or say in the final game. She's a holdover from an earlier version of the story. Her role might have been different in the older version, but I'm not sure. Kenny, however, despite making it near the end in the final game, apparently would have died at some point during this story.
Oh god, no! If he would have died, we know he dies, isn't it? original game, but I wanted him to make at least the second season.
It's not really set in stone how or when he would have died, as they were still writing it as they were going along.
Uh,
Pure speculation here, but
at least that will have made everybody cry.
perhaps Sarita was supposed to go through her own arc after losing Kenny, and both Clementine and Sarita would be able to bond. Seeing as I mention Kenny's death, I want to get it right out of the way that the Luke versus Kenny stuff is a remnant from the Dark Story or Brunner script.
Okay.
It was never a thing in script 1. I should also mention that AJ was not in the first script either. It's interesting to think about.
Is he so big part of the story that it's so weird to think that he actually wasn't part of the first script and
Our group, 2 of which were Clementine, obviously, and Krista, would finally make it to their destination. I like to think Sarita would have made it to the end too. Given how they killed off Kenny, it would seem overkill to have his girlfriend die as well.
yeah.
Anyway, the survivors would end up at this community, which was probably an early version of Wellington,
Okay.
and each member of your crew would have an interview to see if they would be allowed in. I guess it would have been similar to that one episode of the TV show. However,
I haven't seen
this
that.
community was a bit different, as they operated on a kind of 2-caste system. Given that Clementine is a child, the community wouldn't know what to do with her. She'd be given the choice to be part of the higher class, whereas her group would all be sent to the lower class, and would be treated really poorly.
Oh.
Clementine's choice would then tie into season 3, and depending on what you chose, the first episode of the next season would play out very differently.
Oh.
To be honest, I can't imagine that many people choosing to stay with a higher class.
Yeah.
Why would you not want to stay with the people you know? Well, because you had a baby to look after. And so the circumstances were more than just yourself.
Mhm.
I'm guessing the group would have all pushed for you to stay in the higher class, ensuring Clementine's safety and well-being. But I can honestly say, I don't think I would have chosen that.
Thank you.
I'm honestly pretty depressed that we never got that story with Krista surviving to the end. It feels like we were baited and switched for years with
Yeah.
promises of returning
Fuck!
only for her to go missing for more than 7 years. Season 2 appeared to be a more character-driven story like the first game, where the plot was secondary to the characters and their interactions, going from place to place with Clementine beginning to come into her own while on her journey. Perhaps Krista would come to love Clementine like her own daughter,
That will have
the
been
child
great.
that she never had.
Oh.
Is this story better than the one we got? Well, it seemed to have a more central focus, and in my opinion, the first episode of Season 2 is one of my favourite episodes of any Telltale game, mainly because we see a vulnerable Clementine, trying to keep herself together, learning how to survive with the advice she got from Lee. It's arguably her darkest moment, and the first time she acts entirely alone. On the other hand, it's hard to imagine how good the whole season would be and if that level of quality would have been the same. I suppose at the end of the day, it's not really important if it was better or not, because it's not the story we ended up with. But for me, it's always been something I've thought about. Around episode 3, something clicked with me. Something was off, like this doesn't feel right. That feeling only got stronger the next 2 episodes in. And it got me wondering what the hell was going on with this game's development. Why was Roman's corpse by the river, and what happened to Victor and his bandit friends? What was the point of teaching Sarah to use a gun
Yeah.
if it never comes into play? Why does Nick stop existing after episode 2? What was the point of Rebecca picking up Carver's pistol? Which, by the way, he could have used to shoot Kenny.
I don't even remember that she took his gun.
I could go on, but it's abundantly clear that compared to the first season, this game didn't nearly have as much care put into it. From reading some of your comments over the years, it seems I'm not the only one that feels that loss. But maybe you're not one of those people. Maybe you're okay with S2 and A&F as they are. Maybe you're just curious as to what didn't make it. I do want to say though, Season 2 is not the worst game ever. I even say that I like it. It's my
I agree. I like how they treated Kenny because I didn't like season one Kenny that much, but because they treated two Kenny so well, I fell in love with his character. But the plot itself and other characters, handling other characters was kind of messy.
second favourite season after the first. It's like what Dennis Lennart said in the Definitive Edition commentary. There's a lot of good pieces in season 2. It's just that not all of it came together.
Yeah,
And looking at the things I thought was done well, it makes me appreciate what they were able to do with how little time they had to work on the game. Well, anyway, to me, this video is important. It's the reason I started making videos in the first place.
thank you
To
so
figure
much.
out exactly just what happened with this game's development. The answer is not exactly what I wanted, but it's the closest I'll ever get to it. Thank you all for watching, for nearly 8,000 subscribers, for supporting me, liking, commenting. It really means a lot, and
Aw.
it's pushed me to continue to make videos. That's all I have to say for now. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon.
Bravo! Thank you so much, InColdBlood. I love your video. I'm fangirling too much, but I love him. Please, if you watch this video, please go check him out. Give him like, try to give him like 8,000 subscribers. That would be amazing. So, this was an interesting video to watch. I was so interested. So, go check on InColdBlood, and now I'm going to go to edit the video. So I enjoy his videos, and I can't wait for more. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Peace out. Mwah.